Tones, I have a very, very important question for you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Do you like trades?
You betcha!
I've got some great news. We're about to make podcast history. But first, cue that music. I'm like sweating right now.
It's been a busy couple hours for you.
There are some trades, Tones, that started to come to fruition yesterday, and I was having conversations with probably half the league, yourself included.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like shaking. Like I can't believe that I'm in this position right now because I got guys texting me legitimately mad, and I'm honestly kind of pissed off that they're mad in the first place. Like I'm actually kind of rattled. So I'm just gonna try to compose myself for a sec because I'm on the mic and we decided to record and I'm not gonna stop. So let's just put it this way, Tones. I made some deals.
Yeah.
And if you are sitting in your apartment or in your home at 9:45 p.m. on this fine Tuesday, you'll see that nothing has gone through yet. And that's because there are 3 deals waiting in my team's inbox waiting to be pushed through. So with all that said, Tones, money trees off the top.
Oh yeah.
I'm making it rain with trades. I don't know if there's anyone left on my squad, and we'll talk about that later. But why don't we jump in right away with the first trade, which is the biggest trade. And this is the one that's going to generate the most conversation between you and I because of the ramifications with Dan. Let's start with DJ Moore. Tones, I traded DJ Moore, a 12th and a 13th pick, to you for a 1st, a 6th, and that's it. You're dropping some guy.
Some guy. Ryan Tannehill. See ya.
Let me quickly throw it to you, your thoughts, and then we'll come back to me.
My initial thought is I'm like CRG was chirping himself for always having the same guys. I just keep ending up with the same guys. I always have Devontae Parker. It's like my 3rd time owning, 2nd time trading for DJ Moore in my lifetime. Crazy, man. Crazy. If you were to tell me 4 weeks ago that I was trading a 1st for DJ Moore, I would have said, you're nuts, because I did not think he was going to be good this year, but clearly through 4 weeks, that's not the case. It's a hefty price to pay. It's very rare we've seen the 2 picks for 1, especially this early in the season, but you had the advantage of being the only seller, being the early seller, so you were able to squeeze out some extra value, and I think it's a win-win for both teams. I do.
Here's the twisted thing. You and I have been talking about DJ Moore for a week. Nothing was really set in stone until sometime this afternoon when we really hammered down that it was going to be a 1st and a 6th. Dan told me, do not make any trades until you come to me. I will beat it. And he did. He originally offers me a 1st and a 4th. That was the deal, which is better than your 6th. And then at the 11th hour, before I fully pull the trigger with you, he goes 1st and 3rd. And I'm sitting there after already making a handshake agreement with you, wondering, what the hell do I do now? I can't pull out of this deal. Part of this, all of this, is on the fact that I agreed to a deal too early. Because I am losing 3 rounds worth of value because I just want to be a gentleman in this. However, I will say this, and this is the very important detail that unfortunately Dan is not currently understanding, is that I'm banking on you, Tones, and this is going to be interesting, being worse in the end than Dan. Because if I look at some of the powerful teams in the league, and then I look at your record with Dan and I believe it's Ryan on your schedule in the next couple weeks, or is it Nick?
I don't know.
You have a tough couple weeks coming ahead, and we'll get to that more in the matchups when I can actually look at your squad. But if you fall to 1-5 with the fewest points for in the league, even with DJ Moore, you may just blow it up yourself.
Dude, and this was my big sell to you, is that like I'm 1-3 right now, okay? If my squad isn't healthy next week, this is why I was so desperate to get this done this week, because I literally just need a healthy wide receiver to start this week. I needed Lockett and somebody else that is an actual viable fantasy player. I cannot start Bryan Edwards again. So if that doesn't happen and these guys don't come back healthy and my roster's still depleted this week, it's 1-4. And then I'm in deep shit. If I'm 1-5 by some bad luck, I just have a down week, I put up a decent number but still lose, the uphill battle for me might not be worth it, and I might end up be selling. My inspiration for this was Dan last year. And I think it was Rich who was the other one who was giving up seconds, was selling in 1 week, was buying the next. it's early enough to take a gamble like this on a first rounder and just say, fuck it. And you could be the beneficiary of that because no matter what, I'm not getting my first back from you. So you will have my most valuable first. I could be selling off Tyler Lockett for a first, or even DJ Moore for a first, but it's going to be like the 8th, 9th pick, most likely.
The reason why Dan's team fell apart last year was because of injuries. He was injury riddled. He has a good team right now. He's going to make trades. He is going to buy from someone. He will find players. I do have confidence in his team being good. And the first round pick being a potential lottery pick is what sold it to me. So some people are going to look at this and think, is this collusion? How dare he take a pick that's 3 rounds less? And all I'm saying, because I know that conversation is going to be have. All I'm saying is I'm making a trade with a guy who I made a handshake agreement with, which is kind of on me. But at the end of the day, I'm doing it because I think one pick is going to be better than the other. Yeah. And I need help there. Let's move on.
Last thing on that. Ryan's not Ryan's team right now if he didn't have 2 picks in the first 4. That's all you need to be thinking about right now. And that was my big sell to you. And I was truthful about that. I'm not spitting you bullshit. It's real.
So, Tones, I'm going to go into the league.
Yeah.
And I'm going to click on the trade with more tutties for Tones.
Oh!
And I am going to scroll down to accept the trade. As Yahoo says, are you sure? I say yes. And just like that, our first trade has been pushed through.
Dude, DJ Moore's turf toe injury this week's going to be fuego. Get excited. Oh, baby. Welcome to the cursed squad, DJ.
I can't wait.
All right, next up, Doris. Just getting loose.
Next up. I trade 2 players, one of whom has been on my team for years, and I am just getting rid of all of the boys' Tones. Chris Godwin, Josh Jacobs are now gone, plus my 9th and 10th, and they go to Rich for a 2nd, a 4th, and the piece that pulled this thing together for me, Jalen Waddle.
Yo, boy.
Couple things to talk about here, because we have another team who's been insulted by my antics in the last 24 hours, and it's Franco. Franco was asking about Chris Godwin. I told Franco that there was a 2nd on the table already for Rich. Rich, a team who, truthfully, I feel like is going to be one of the best teams in the league this year. When I traded Odell and Jonnu to Rich last year, Rich gave me his 2nd. That turned into the 11th overall pick this year because Rich won the league. I think Rich has the potential to be really good. So to me, Rich's 2nd is worth more than Franco's 2nd. When Franco asked, how can I sweeten the deal? With a mid-round pick? When I offered my 7th when I asked for a 7th, he asked for my 8th back. Listen, I don't want to start dealing with picks where they're 6 spots away from each other.
Right.
With Rich, it was simple. He then asked for Jacobs. His value right now is a 4th. And even that is a little high. But you know what? Rich goes for his guy. Rich gets his guy. And I wanted Waddle. Waddle is the exact type of guy that I'm looking for. I want youth. I want a guy who's going to be there for me next year. Jalen Waddle is going to be nothing this year. I said this earlier this season. The Dolphins' offense is a mess. Yeah. One of the worst in the league. They're going to win games on their defense maybe, but their offense is bad. Waddle being on my roster for 2022 is the key. So, Godwin, Jacobs, gone. I get Waddle, I get a 2nd and a 4th, and in a matter of a day, I've now collected a 1st, a 2nd, and a 4th. But Tones, not only did it not end there, but I'm just saying I've got no talent left. No. We are shipping off all sorts of talent at this point.
And that's all good. This is you should be doing. I'm not gonna tell you what to do here, but like you should be doing. You're getting ammo right now. Doing what Ryan did last year. Here's a bunch of ammo. You want to go get a young guy? Hey, I got multiple 2nds now. Here it is. Take him. He traded a 3rd for CeeDee Lamb last year. It was a great move. He's not where he's at right now without that deal. I love the Waddle thing. Going back to that. Will Fuller's a UFA. He has not even seen the field with this team. Yeah. It's going into week 5 here. He's probably not coming back. The wide receiver 1 opportunity there for Waddle to just step in next year is very, very much in play for that kid. And I like him, man. So far, he's kind of passed the eye test a little bit. He's been better than what I thought he was. But yeah, we got to talk about the next one, Doris, because I like this one. It's the much maligned Mike Davis.
We do. Let me just confirm that I'm accepting the trade with Yahoo. I'm pushing it through as the 2nd trade goes. And
I love this. Can we do this every week? Can you just start just selling off dudes for 7s just so we can do this live?
Now I have 2 empty spots on my roster, says Yahoo, but here we go. We're going back to the 3rd trade. And yes, just like that, Tones, Mike Davis. I got something for Mike Davis. And it's not a pick. No, it's not a 12th round pick from someone. It's not cash considerations, Tones, or a player to be named later. No, it's Michael Carter, who I accidentally tonight called Aaron Carter without even really knowing it.
Remember Aaron Carter? That's how I beat Shaq.
Great track.
Great track.
I've traded Mike Davis for Michael Carter straight up 1-for-1 with Ryan, which is the most Ryan trade ever. Mike Davis has more fantasy points than Michael Carter. Mike Davis's value could not be lower right now, much like Josh Jacobs' value could not be more in the toilet. I think what Ryan's looking at here is a guy who will eventually plow in touchdowns and get more than 10 points a week, which he's not doing right now. And now Mike Davis, anyway, is his fifth running back. It really doesn't matter. Michael Carter, for me, is another shot at a young guy. I'm trying to build, I'm trying to look forward, and now I have more youth and picks than I've had in a really long time. So, the most Ryan trade ever results in another keeper of mine being traded. And that's it, Tones.
Ryan needed some RB depth. He's got 3 right now. It's Najee Eckler, obviously. Darrell Henderson, who's in his flex most weeks. He has his handcuff, sort of, / timeshare, and Sony Michel. And after that, it's now going to be Mike Davis. You improve that spot for him. I don't love Mike Davis. I think he's fucking... You're never going to be confident starting him. But, like, if it's going to cost you a guy like Michael Carter, who's probably, at this point, a waiver wire guy, and for you, an upside, let's just hang on to him for a handful of weeks and see what happens. Yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense.
The Jets' backfield is
It's a mess.
It's a bunch of washed dudes, basically.
Someone will emerge. At some point this year, someone's got to take the reins there.
The thing is they draft this kid, and there's really no... I'm not scared of Tevin Coleman, and I'm really not scared of Ty Johnson. As you know, I don't like Ty Johnson, and even though I liked him once upon a time on a waiver wire. But...
Good times.
Michael Carter's going to get a chance to at least try to claim that spot, and they're going to give him the whole year to figure it out. We talked about Michael Carter when I was talking about Javonte Williams after the Week 1 pod. I love Javonte Williams. I didn't love Michael Carter. But in the Jets' zone running scheme, maybe Michael Carter can do kind of the things that we
100%.
Can expect out of a starting running back, at least an RB2. It gives me a shot. Do I look at this as a keeper? Do I look at Waddle as a keeper? No, I don't know, but I'm at least taking as many shots as I can while also collecting the picks.
Totally.
And maybe Carter has a starting role later and I trade him to somebody else.
There you go.
We'll see. But anyway, as I go and clicked accept the trade, this one also gets pushed through. And now, Tones, I've changed my team name to The Giving Tree, which I don't know if you've ever read it before, but it's a great children's book where basically the tree gives and gives and gives, and I am selling, and selling. So, we recap, Tones. I finish now, after this crazy 24 hours, with a first, a second, a fourth, and a sixth, and Jalen Waddle. My final thoughts to recap this entire thing. It hurts getting rid of guys like DJ Moore and Chris Godwin, who are young guys with a lot of talent, guys that I think have a lot of upside. But are they keepers at the end of the year? I just don't know the answer to that. I'd rather take my shots, get my picks now, and if something emerges later in the year with a guy like, for example, a Cam Akers, a Jamar Chase from Rob, someone who has a lot of other players and is willing to give up youth and talent, much like Ryan did with CD last year. It's week 5. There are 8 or 9 weeks to fix holes that I have in terms of my keepers, and I'll just be more active in doing that. That's where I'm at.
Take a breath, woosah. Yeah. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Good work, buddy. You did good. You're done. Like, you're literally finished. You don't need to sell anybody else. You can just kind of chill. Your draft's going to be fine. You have keeper options, like you just mentioned. The thing about the risk from the buyer's perspective, if I am me, Rich, and, well, less so with Ryan, but let's talk about me and Rich and Dan and all these other guys that maybe missed out. I mean, this is the gamble about doing this so early, and this is what I'm kind of nervous about. What if these guys get hurt? It is only week 5. What if their roles change? That can absolutely happen, right?
Yep.
Like, DJ Moore's had an injury history. Chris Godwin was banged up all last year. He frustrated the hell out of me. Like, these guys are no guarantees. Like, Josh Jacobs is already kind of, like, banged up, but, like, you're just hoping that things turn around for that guy and that somehow, some way, they just come to Jesus and say, feed me the rock. The advantage that the other guys have, and I mentioned this to you when we were in trade discussions a couple days ago, I think. Nick last year, if I remember correctly, was not late to the party, but I think he was like on a tape delay for like 5 minutes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Everyone sold the big first round picks, and then he swoops in and somehow pulls off the blockbuster and ends up with Tyreek Hill and then somebody else massive, right? With Rich. That was that big, huge trade.
Yeah.
And look what happened, right? His team was a fucking juggernaut. Rich wins big in that deal too, getting Stephon Diggs. Was that deal or was that a separate deal?
No, the Diggs deal was elsewhere.
Diggs deal was elsewhere, but they came around the same time, and it was kind of closer to the trade deadline. They didn't happen early. I was the guy that did this early last year, and I was going, man, like, did I do this too early? Should I have just waited and saved that first for the Tyreek Hill or the Stephon Diggs? I probably should have. So that's the gamble us early guys take. And for the guys that missed out right now, there's going to be other opportunities. I might be the guy to give you that opportunity at some point. Franco's kind of on the fringe too. There's CRG's kind of on the edge. Like, there will be more sellers. Everyone take a fucking breath.
I took my breath. I think I need another one because my heart is still racing from this. I'm just trying not to piss anybody off. I just tried to do what was best for my team, and for the record, I didn't use anybody to do that. So
here we go.
We move on. We've got power rankings, Tones, but before we do that, we will do the matchups, and we start with what I deemed to be one of the biggest matchups of the week. You had something to say there.
No, I just love that we're doing power rankings again because it's just more opportunities to piss people off in this league. It's great.
No kidding.
Love it.
Rob defeats Rich. Rob moves to 3-1. Rich falls to 2-2. 144 for Rob to 111. We start with Rich and bad because there are some injuries to talk about here to his backfield. Let's start, Tones, with Dalvin Cook.
Yeah, Dalvin Cook returned, but he kind of didn't. He had 44 yards total in the game, but this is the important part. He limped off at some point. I think it was the early third quarter and didn't really play much for most of the second half. Not good. Hopefully he didn't re-aggravate. I haven't really seen much updates on it, but this is concerning if you're Rich, right? Like, this is exactly what you're afraid of with Dalvin Cook and probably why he was ready to sell him 4 weeks ago.
The Madison factor works in here. We saw Madison put up 20 points, and I know Dalvin Cook is a specimen. I mean, you watch Chuba fill in for Christian McCaffrey, and it's just not the same guy. But when Madison fills in, he somehow puts up points. And as long as Dalvin Cook is around for when Rich needs him the most, which is the push to and the conquering of the playoffs, I'm actually not so worried with Madison as the handcuff there. Now, is he going to be as effective as a runner? Of course not, but he's still going to get plenty of opportunity. As long as Dalvin Cook is on Rich's team from week, let's just say 14 onwards, I'm okay with it for Rich because I think he's still going to put up points. Mm-hmm. He's got great players. He just got Godwin and Jacobs. I think that Rich has a really good team, so as long as Cook is healthy later, I think this is okay.
Well, this might make it tougher for him to win in the near term. Montgomery also out now 4 to 5 weeks. That injury, watching on Sunday, I texted him immediately. I'm like, oh boy, that didn't look good. And I honestly thought his season was over. I was with Rich. I have him in another league, and I was very much relying on him in that league. And I was like, man, he's done. Like, there's no way. Thankfully, only 4 to 5 weeks. That's a big, big W. Maybe he can swing Damian Williams. We're taping this on Tuesday, so no fab yet. But if he can swing at Damian Williams, man, he's going to be fine. But, yeah, it's not good to have your two best running backs. No, actually, was Monty better than Taylor this year, would you say?
I don't know the points. I'm going to say probably not.
Okay, well, whatever. Your 1A and 1C running backs being out is tough, and now Jacobs will have to start, and hopefully he's productive for Rich.
Rich has $52 left, Tones. I ask you this. How many dollars does he spend on Damian Williams? And you can say this because
$52 left. Gronk was 20. Who the fuck else? 4 to 5 weeks. I don't know. $10.
All right.
$10.
We'll see how it goes.
$10.
We are going to move to Rob and Tones. It may be a controversial opinion this week, but we've decided to give our Greg Jennings Performer of the Week award.
Fuck it. You can't stop me.
Saquon is making big plays, Tones, and if you're Rob, you like to see it. His stat line this week is 126 total yards with 2 touchdowns. Was he the highest scorer? Certainly not. In fact, he was almost doubled by Tyreek Hill, who we'll talk about once we get to Nick. Austin Eckler puts up more points, but not only does it swing the matchup for Rob and give him a very decided victory, but also Saquon Barkley also feeling like he's getting the Comeback Player of the Week /year award with this. How would you feel if you're Rob right now?
I'd feel really good. I watched that whole game. He torched my team. I was pissed. I lost a lot of money this week on the fucking Saints. God damn it. Thanks, Saquon. He looked great. He looked fucking back. The workload was there. They were feeding him. He was on the field a lot. It didn't look like he was on much of a pitch count. And he looked really good. He rattled off like a 47-yard catch and run. He looked fucking awesome. He was a beast. So Rob should be very excited about that. The next guy I want to talk about here, This is the one I think is really interesting. Deebo Samuel is a fucking machine. I'm pretty sure he's the wide receiver 3 right now on the season.
Checking it right now.
Like, the dude dropped 31 points this week, okay? He had 27 week 1, he had 13 week 2, 7 week 3, 12 targets, 8 catches, 156 yards, and 2 touchdowns this week. One was on a busted coverage. It was like 77 yards. It was huge. Where is he, Doris? You got it?
Yeah. Debo's third with 79 points amongst wide receivers. Tyreek Hill has 85, 87 for Cooper Kupp. Right behind Debo with 5 points behind him. DJ Moore, Cordero Patterson.
Absolutely nuts. Is this for real? Like, I don't know. Like, I didn't love Debo coming in. I thought Ayuk was going to be significantly better. I thought Kittle's there. They love using the running backs. There's not enough mouths to feed to have 3 pass-catching guys that are regularly fantasy relevant. And all of a sudden, here's fucking Deebo Samuel, the cheapest one out of all 3, just lighting it up. Like,
it's a great point, the cheapest one. I think as long as you're in Kyle Shanahan's good books, he's going to feed you. I think that once you work your way out of the doghouse, he'll give you more opportunities. And Brandon Ayuk is eventually going to be more involved, right? First round pick last year, very talented. We know what he's capable of. But if Kyle Shanahan doesn't want to feed these guys because they're not working hard enough in practice, Debo will be good and this good for as long as that's the case. Now, my gut tells me that this will fade eventually, but clearly Debo Samuel has proven that he's going to be a very valuable member of this offense and a wide receiver 2 or better for Rob for the remainder of the season.
It'll be interesting to watch that. I don't know. I'm not sold yet. I
Question-
don't know why. I don't know what I'm waiting for.
Question for you. Do we take Clyde Edwards-Helaire off the watch list? Because just 1 week after we said he wouldn't do it again, he puts up 100 yards on the ground again, Tones.
Yeah. We got to take him off the watch list. I think he's caught 2 receiving touchdowns in that span too. Yahoo won't tell me. I'm going to stop banging on that drum. I really am. It's probably getting so annoying, but it's just so fucking ridiculous. Yes, you got to take it. Like, he's bounced back in a major way. I didn't see it coming. I'm surprised. Maybe he's getting the squeaky wheel treatment, right? Like, everyone's down on him. He fumbles in prime time, and now the Chiefs really want to, hey, we need this guy come playoff time. Let's get his confidence back up and feed him and get him going in the red zone and get him finding pay dirt and getting a little confidence back.
Rob could not be, speaking of confidence, Rob could not be more confident and happier with his team. I got to be honest, Tones, he's 3-1 and in 3rd place, but I'm still kind of expecting him to sell as of tomorrow morning.
I'm fully expecting it.
I'm just waiting for it.
I'm waiting for like one down week from Deebo Samuel where he has like 3 points and he's like, fuck it, this is stupid. Fantasy's dumb. I'm over it. Who wants Deebo Samuel? And then Dan sends 18 picks to him.
Our next matchup, who are we moving on to now?
CRG. He defeats Franco. CRG is now 2-2. Franco falling to 1-3. 128 to 119 is the final in this one. CRG entering Sunday Night Football down 10. He had Evans and your boy Suck Up. I don't know why he's your boy. I just like saying his name. Franco's side had Nelson Aguilar. That is a mismatch. Yes, CRG pulling out the win by 9 points. Okay. The thing we got to talk about here with Franco, I want to find ways to not really pick on Franco every week, but like it's just sometimes it just falls in their lap, man. Nick chirps him for not starting. Like, hey, Franco, you should have done your 2 tight end strategy this week and started Dawson Knox after his first of 2 touchdowns. Franco goes 1:03 p.m. I went to go do it, and it was too late. Franco, we know when the games are, man. They're every Sunday, 1 p.m. Eastern. It's the only time zone we live in. You can't find a time on Saturday night to set your lineup. Takes 2 seconds. They couldn't make it easier for you. I know you got 2 babies at home. Life's busy. I understand. We all have our phones. They're attached to our fucking wrists. Set the lineup. You got to push literally. Boop, boop. Done. Knox is in your flex.
You know what's funny about that is that I admitted on this very program that I forgot to set my lineup last week because I was hiking somewhere in Milton.
You guys are clowns.
I know.
Wake up.
But I don't, that's not the point that I want to harp on or make. I just think it's interesting that he wanted Dawson Knox in his lineup. For who? For Devin Singletary, who he had in there instead? Like, I understand.
Yeah.
Like, 18 points on paper looks really good from Dawson Knox, but the only reason why he has 18 points is because it's 2 touchdowns. When you have a touchdown-dependent tight end, Tones, you can't look at it and say, oh, I wish, because you don't know. You have no clue when these guys are going to go off. And if Knox goes off for 4 targets, 2 catches, and 20 yards next week, doesn't find the end zone, I'm not shocked. It's the infatuation with the tight ends and the potential inclusion of of Robert Tonyan in a deal with me. I don't really, it's not very enticing. So it's not the did he set his lineup or not? It's I can't believe he keeps wanting to put all these tight ends in his flex.
I do like Dawson Knox. I thought he was a really good start this week. I was looking at him. I ended up electing for Gesicki over him. Gesicki was fine, but it wasn't Dawson Knox good, so I was disappointed in that. But so I was with him. I was like, yes, I know the yardage wasn't there, but against Houston, I felt like they were going to smash, and he would at least find the end zone at least once. He scored last week, now scores twice this week. I don't know. I think he would have been a better start than Singletary, that's for sure, and especially in that matchup. I think everyone knew it was kind of becoming the Zach Moss show a little bit, and Singletary had a solid day, had 9 points. It's not terrible, but I thought it was the right play. Like, I really did. Obviously, I would have put Pittman in there, and he only ended up with 8, so maybe Franco's just better at this than me, but I don't know. Just if you want to start a guy, just make sure you start him. I don't know.
The guy.
It's pretty weird.
He's starting James Robinson, and James Robinson is proving you and I wrong over the last couple weeks. So is he back, Tones? He had 76 yards. I think that's total this week and 2 touchdowns. It equals 20 points. I'm willing to make the case now after, a few weeks have gone by. The Jags offense couldn't have been worse before. And now it's seeming to, I don't know if they're going to have their head coach as of tomorrow morning, because that's a whole different story that we dropped from our show lineup because we had to talk about trades off the top here. But I digress. I think that Robinson maintains his value as long as the Jags offense is clicking, because the threat of a few good receivers in the end zone with Trevor Lawrence is one thing, but then I do think that if they get down there in the red zone within 5 yards, this is just going to be the James Robinson show. That's what it's looked like so far.
This week, Carlos Hyde was a last-second scratch. So I don't know if they even had another running back dressed. I'm sure they did, but they obviously, knew who trusts their third-string running back. Carlos Hyde's been getting work. 9 rushing attempts week 1. He only had 2 week 2, and they were coming from behind the entire game, so that was James Robinson's show, and 8 the week prior in week 3. He somehow gets a ton of work. So if he's back next week, and it's more of a 60-40 split, that's the issue with Robinson. I don't dislike James Robinson as a player. I did not like him this year because James Robinson sucks. It's just, they're going to use Carlos Hyde. It's inexplicable. It's fucking stupid. What is Carlos Hyde giving you that, James Robinson can't give you? It's absolutely silly. So maybe Robinson proves in this game, hey, I'm the fucking guy. I'm your bell cow. Let's fucking go. Sit this Carlos Hyde dude down. Or it's just back to what it was next week.
And maybe the late scratch on Hyde is we've now seen 3 weeks worth if you're the Jags coaching staff, which is a new staff, and you're looking at it being like, well, what we saw in the preseason and training camp is clearly not the reality. Robinson is clearly better than Hyde, and that's the guy that we're going to roll with, which I think might be the case. I got to ask you about Alvin Kamara's. And I'll let you break it down because you were all over the Saints game on the weekend.
Kamara had a good game. 12 points. It's fine. First game ever. He's gone over 24 carries. He had 26 in this game. First time ever, 24 carries, okay?
Yep.
This was also the first game in his career he's never had a single target. I don't know what any of this means. I just thought it was interesting. It could mean absolutely nothing. Putting it out there, do with the information with what you will. He's still the best. I fucking love Kamara. Beautiful, man.
Franco's next 5 weeks. If he's wondering and listening, which I doubt he is, but if he is, if he's wondering why I didn't want his second-round pick, this is why. Here's his next 5 weeks. Nick, Ryan, Mike, Rich, Dan.
Oof.
There are not many weak teams statistically in this league right now, but on paper, to me, that looks like a murderer's row. And Franco currently has 1 win, which means if he doesn't win at least 2 of those games, he is in a position where he is out of the playoffs and his season is potentially over. I don't want his second-round pick if he's going to be the 17th or 18th overall pick. So I digress there. We need to move on to Genera, who did get the win this week and is now won 2 in a row. Big for the power rankings. We'll get to that later. It was a scary day maybe, though, Tones, for some guys on his roster. He had some injuries.
Yeah, Amari Cooper was on the sidelines at one point. No helmet. Looked like he had the look. You know that look. You might not. I surely know it extremely well. I'm very, very attuned with injuries here. The guy looked like he was not coming back in the game, and it was very early. I think it was first or second quarter, and it was like, shit, here it is. Here's the nagging injury that's going to last all year with Cooper. But thankfully, he comes back into the game from that hammy injury. 3 for 69, scores the big play touchdown. It was a beautiful catch. So I think all is well with Cooper. He's probably not going to practice a couple times this week, but I think he's going to be fine. But big Woosa moment there for CRG. Woosa has a big theme on this year's pod.
It is, because everyone's so stressed after the year of COVID that we just need to breathe a little bit.
Yep.
Something else to keep in mind is, well, actually, it's two guys in his backfield. We'll start with Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon, again, getting hurt. Got his 13 points in, which is really nice. Originally, Mixon was called week to week. Now, apparently, Yahoo's telling me that Zach Taylor is being called... Zach Taylor is saying Mixon is day to day. So I'm not really sure where this injury goes, but Mixon may or may not play against Green Bay. Mixon was a guy who last year the Bengals really never even told us what was wrong with him. Right? He was just out for a long period of time, which means Zach Taylor also doesn't care about your fantasy team. Yeah. I'm not sure what to make of it there. And something that I completely missed when I was doing my research on this matchup, Tones, is Chris Carson. Carson, who finished with 13 rushes for 30 yards, finished with 3.6 points, and he didn't practice on Tuesday because of a neck injury. They play Thursday. So I'm not sure what Jenner is going to do. His entire backfield may very well be missing, and he's left with Damian Harris and Kareem Hunt, and James Conner, which is fine, but it's not your RB1 and RB2. So ugly stuff there. I also want to talk about Jenner's receivers, because as we talk about a team who's won 2 straight, there seems to be a lot of negative energy with them right now. And Devontae Adams and Calvin Ridley, they've combined for 2 touchdowns through 4 weeks. That is 8 total games and 2 touchdowns combined. Does that turn around? I don't know. I look to you for answers here, because it's 2 guys that we thought would be within the top 5 of wide receiver points this season, and it's not there right now.
Yeah, it's not. I couldn't be less worried about Adams. I really just couldn't. He's Devontae Adams. He's going to be fine. That team's going to get rolling. It's still early season. Aaron Rodgers, he's probably been checked out for a month and a half, but now the season's here. He's going to get going. It's fine. Ridley, I'm starting to get a little nervous about. The targets are there, but they're like, is there such thing as like empty targets, or like targets that just don't matter as much?
When it goes OB over a guy's head, that's a target.
That's kind of what I mean. Like, it's just like, I feel like there's valuable targets and there's non-valuable targets. Amari Cooper has valuable targets, right? A lot of times it has a chance to go for 6 because that offense is really good. Dak's really good. All things are clicking there. Matt Ryan's fucking washed. That offense is a mess. They're almost never in the red zone. If all you have to do to defend this team is just bracket Ridley, make sure he doesn't beat you over the top, and you're fucking chilling. I do think better days are going to be ahead for this guy, but I'm just not, like we said it last week, I just don't think he's going to be that top 5 league-winning monster that we thought he was going to be.
And that's a real shame.
But it's weird because the targets, reception, you look at it all, it's there. Like 2 weeks ago, 11 for 8 and 61. Like, that sucks. Like, that last year was 11 for 8 and 120. You know what I'm trying to say? Like, the big play was there.
And a touchdown.
Just hasn't been there. Right, exactly.
I want to go back to Adams for a sec, because I do agree with everything you said, but my further point to Adams, 8 points, 16, 25, 9. His targets are through the roof. He has 29 targets in his last 2 weeks. And here are his matchups. New Orleans, Detroit is shitty. San Francisco and Pittsburgh. Defensive, those are kind of tough defensive matchups.
2 out of 4 pretty solid right there.
You know, and there is a tough schedule here, but he does have softer matchups later, including Arizona, Kansas City, Seattle, Minnesota. Like, there are games coming, and he's going to be okay. So I'm with you there, and I think the Ridley situation is just kind of sad because Ryan is so washed up.
It is sad. All right, let's do the next one here. Mike Dotto. We're going to say his name this week. Mike Dotto defeating Dan. These boys are both 2-2. 126 to 116 is the final. Mike needed 3 points from Waller on Monday night. It got dicey though, Doris, didn't it?
It did. I don't think he had any catches in the first half. I don't recall fully because I was texting 4 different people trying to make deals. But it didn't look good. The Raiders offense didn't look good. He does end up though with 13 points, gets what he needed. Do you want to talk about Mike's lineup, or do you want to talk about Mike's money?
It's time to talk about Mike's money. I'm going to talk about Mike's money.
Go ahead.
Okay. Mike's been number 1 chirping me for spending big on Fab 2 years in a row. 2 years in a row. It's not how you do it. It's not how you do it. All right. Here's how not to do it. Here's Mike Dotto's Fab deep dive. You ready for this?
Yep.
$17 on Christian Kirk. He's never started him before this week. This week, whopping 1 point. Great. $12 on Mark Ingram. After week 1. Never started. Don't think he's on his team anymore. $12. This is a big one. Cordell Patterson. Never started. Why? He's the air quotes RB3 this year because he's a fucking receiver, but he's also a running back. It's fucking weird. But like the guy's been putting up numbers, and this is the thing. I wouldn't be saying this if Mike himself didn't say 2 weeks ago, this guy's gonna win me weeks. Watch. I'm watching, man. I'm watching him collect points that don't matter on your bench. It doesn't count. So what? $2 on Las Vegas's defense. He started him week 3, 5 points. $2 on the Saints D. Now this is the weird one. This is this week. He already had the Bills defense going against Houston, which every weekly ranking had as the number 1 play this week. The Bills defense went off, and I get it. The Saints were going up against the fucking Giants. I thought that was going to be a blowout. Everybody else thought that was going to be a blowout, but the fucking Bills were going to smash Houston. That was a lock. It was 40 to fucking nothing. Give me a break. Why did you need to spend $2? I know it's only $2, whatever, but why? What's the fucking point? You're just throwing money away. And then this is just funny. $1 on McManus, started in week 4, 1 point. Mike has $54 left, and in terms of production so far this season, not much to show for it. And this is all to say, I would rather spend $52 on a starting running back in the NFL than fucking $44 on 5 guys, 4 of which are shit and are off my lineup, 2 of which are fucking defenses that don't matter, and then maybe 1 guy who's half decent. Like, it's it. It's as simple as that. There's multiple ways to spend your money. What?
Skip.
Go, say it.
Skip is back.
Skip Tones. Let's go.
Skip is
Woo!
back. That was a dive. You called it a deep dive, and it was a deep dive.
Oh, that felt good.
To recap, Mike has $54 remaining. Tones has $40 remaining. It's pretty much the same at this point.
We're fucking feisty today.
Yeah.
We're feisty. This pod's
Listen
gonna
to me.
stir it up.
I am only feisty because I was attacked as if I'm a bad person. Like I personally wronged different people in my trade negotiations. I did nothing wrong. I was just trying to make deals. Anyway, I got to shout out the kickers because you mentioned the kickers. So here's some kicker information for Mike Dotto. Here's his kicker output. Week 1, 1 point. Dropped Graham Gano, who then puts up 23 the next week. Week 2, 7 points from his kicker. Week 3, 3 points. Week 1, 1 point. Mike is the worst kicker streamer in the league. But, Tones,
Remember Graham Gano?
I do. I do have to shout out Mike's random wide receiver corps because they have been putting up impressive numbers, and he does deserve this. He didn't make a selection, and correct me if I'm wrong, until the 6th or 7th round, and he makes...
5th, I think.
Okay, he makes selections including Devonta Smith, who we had major question marks coming in this year, Bollywood Brown, who has actually been more Hollywood
amazing.
than anything, even though he's dropping.
Yep,
okay,
he's been great.
And Darnell Mooney, who like I know is another guy who's not really in his lineup, but the guy puts up 125 this week, 16 points. There are guys here. Marvin Jones has been okay. So Mike has pieced together some receivers, and I'm assuming at some point he will buy to improve these guys, but they have actually made it work so far.
Mike and Nikki's little research sessions 2 weeks before the draft seem to have paid off. They hit on some late round guys, and it's pretty impressive. As a guy who had to do the same thing and did not hit, it's, good shit. I have to clarify, so is it wide receiver core or corpse? I've always wondered this forever. And I work in sports television. I still don't know how to say this. Is it both? Is it one of those things?
I thought it was corpse, to be honest. And I don't...
It seems weird.
I don't even know what that is because I think corpse and I think deceased. But like, I just don't know what to say about that.
Like some people would be like, oh, the Leafs corpse is like really good. Or like they spell core in a different way or something. They were like spell core corpse or something like that. I'm like, fuck is going on? Can we just have can the English language just simplify? Let's just make things a little easier for everyone.
Thoughts? Strange. We should go back to Latin.
No.
I'm going to throw it to you, Tones, for the Eagles running back situation. And when it comes to Dan, I personally am going to be very careful in how I evaluate Dan this week because I think I need to reach out.
New rivalry?
And give him a hug. Well, there's no rivalry when I'm going to win one game this year. So I throw it to you to talk about Miles Sanders.
Yes. The Eagles running back usage the last 2 weeks. Okay. Miles Sanders, 9 carries. Kenny Gainwell, 4 carries.
In 2 weeks.
That's not each week. That is total. 13 total carries in the last 2 weeks. How is that? This isn't even a chirp on Miles Sanders. This is nothing. How do you run an offense like that? It's just terrible, man. I had higher hopes than Miles Sanders this year. I didn't think he'd be great, but I didn't think he'd be this fucking bad. Like, this is terrible, man. You cannot start him. He's really burned Dan in his flex the last couple weeks. He's caught some balls, sure, but like 6 points this week, 7 points the week prior, 6 points week 2. It was looking really good after week 1, but then it's just gone on a nosedive. I don't understand what this offense is. It's going to be tricky if I were to own anybody. Honestly, I think you have Kenny Gainwell, don't you?
I do.
I would rather have Gainwell at this point. It seems like he's their fucking red zone guy.
He is. He's a 2-minute guy as well. I don't know if there's much upside in either of these guys at the moment.
Yeah.
A couple tough matchups in Dallas and maybe Kansas City. Like, I guess they're playing from behind, Tones, is the only reason why I would say that Sanders hasn't been used.
But he catches passes.
I know.
It's weird.
I don't know what to make of it. All I knew coming into this season is that Jalen Hurts was going to be like Lamar Jackson in that he was going to take touchdowns away from guys like Miles Sanders, which is why I didn't want to draft him. But the usage in the last couple weeks has been like beyond strange. And I don't really know what to make of it. I haven't been watching any Eagles, so I can't really comment on it. I don't know. I just like having an upside guy in Gainwell. I don't know what to expect out of him.
Yeah.
But this team is very strange.
The usage is just very weird. We're going to keep picking on Dan here. Wow, Dan's going to hate this pod. I love it. Week 1, 175 points. We thought he was a juggernaut. It was him and Ryan. Look the fuck out. Since then, 135, winning in week 2. That's great. 78, now 116. It's kind of going down. And maybe that 175, maybe our bar was a little too high after that. Maybe if that was like 125, we wouldn't be talking about this. But like, has his team peaked already? Like, we're just talking about he has a flex problem. He's kind of an injury away from being like, oh shit, like now what? You know what I mean? And I don't know if he wants to toil in the middle like he did last year.
Every team has a big week every year where they put up an incredible amount of points. Dan's was week 1. 175 is hard to replicate. We've seen that it's hard to replicate even through the last 3 weeks since then. I'll say this about Dan. He would have won this week with Corey Davis in his lineup, a guy who kind of wronged him last week, so he takes him out. Instead, he puts guys like Deontay Johnson. Great move, 19 points. Terry McLaurin was insane. He's locked in wide receiver 1.
Stud.
Odell is the question mark for me because Miles Sanders in the flex looked really good on paper against KC. I understand that. Odell puts up 4. So if you swap out Odell for Corey Davis, which I guess in hindsight is an easy thing to do, okay? Like, I understand that.
In the moment. Yeah.
But the difference of 15, and my point that I'm trying to make is the difference of 15 points makes Dan 3-1. We don't have this conversation if he beats Mike, and Mike certainly isn't as confident about his team because he would be 1-3.
Right.
It's that simple roster decision that sparks a new conversation. We can be legitimately worried about a guy like Miles Sanders, but I do think that Dan still has the capacity, the capability to put up points with these guys. And on top of that, Tones, with Kyler Murray as his quarterback, you never know when he's going to put up 30 or more. He's just that guy. He saved weeks for you last. He won 3 matchups for you. So I don't know where it's going to go with Dan, but I know that I'm not worried, and I hope that he is okay with me.
It's a great point. It's the same. That's happened a couple times. Like for me, Sterling Shepard over Elijah Moore over Sterling Shepard week 1. That's a win instead, right? Those little decisions could be the difference. 100%. It's a good point. So I'm now less worried about Dan's team.
Listen, I'm 2-2 if I plug in Trey Sermon instead of Mike Davis.
Right.
And I don't know if I sell this week.
Right.
I don't know if I'm in this position.
The butterfly effect of home.
Oh, we didn't do that.
That's okay. We just didn't know.
I'm going to move on, Tones, to Ryan, who kicked your butt, but not too...
Not bad. Not
in a Ryan fashion,
bad.
You know? Ryan moves to 3-1. You fall to 1-3, and you traded for DJ Moore. So we already talked about that. 117 to 95, Tones. That is not a big score, but you're sub 100. So you're up 7 heading into Monday Night Football, and you have your boy Brian Edwards versus Austin Eckler and
dropped.
Daniel Carlson. I was not shocked whatsoever with the result, but Brian Edwards without even a catch until the 4th quarter, I believe. We mentioned it earlier that Austin Eckler gets an honorable mention, for the Jennings because of the incredible week. And in fact, he was the difference in this matchup. 28 points, 117 on the ground, a receiving touchdown, and multiple receiving yards that Yahoo won't show us. But it is a subpar week for Ryan. He gets a cheapie, but he does it against your squad, which was literally in shambles.
Oh my God, man. The duct tape squad this week is putting it lightly. This was a shit show. I had AJ Brown, T. Higgins, Sterling Shepard, Elijah Mitchell all out. I had to start Marquez Callaway, Brian Edwards, and Zach Moss, who I was actually very happy to start. They all combined for 21 points. Edwards, I couldn't have dropped him fast enough. couldn't have dropped. What a shame. So talented. Just fuck, man. Just in the wrong spot. It's really unfortunate.
Raiders offense is tough. It is unfortunate when you know a guy has so much talent and he's not used properly. I think it's even more disappointing because you go into a primetime game with a good matchup on paper that has such high hopes. There is a 50-minute delay, and then your guy doesn't catch a pass until the last 4 minutes of the game. It's kind of just a letdown. While Eckler is doing what he's doing, it's kind of annoying.
Because I at least thought Oakland was going to be behind in this game at some, like it was either going to be a shootout or they'd be down and they'd fucking be chucking it up. And I thought it was either going to be Waller or this guy that was going to go big. But
we don't have too much to say about Ryan this week, but I will get to that in a moment because first I want to ask some questions from you. And I have some questions about a couple of your players, guys that you have a lot of stock in, especially if you're making first round pick trades for DJ Moore, hoping to elevate your squad. The first question I have is Tyler Lockett versus DK Metcalf, because we mentioned on the pod, I think it was 2 weeks ago, I had said to you, we could easily see a swap here of Tyler Lockett to DK. DK hadn't been really involved the way that we thought he was going to. And although they have a new passing attack in Seattle, I'm thinking it has to switch eventually. Does it? And it does. Lockett the past couple weeks has fallen off while DK has stepped up and he's been catching the touchdowns. Why can't Russ just throw to two receivers in a game? I don't understand, but it feels like every year now we get this where one is good and one is really not so good.
The pace in which their offense has been operating the last 2 weeks has been concerning. It's fallen back to what they did last year, but I am holding out hope that this is just early season, new offense, still working out the kinks kind of stuff. And when the game kind of get weirder out of hand, let's revert back to what we know. I'm not really that worried about Lockett. I said it already. I'm not going to dive into it again. My big epiphany this year in doing research this offseason was that pretty much every wide receiver is inconsistent. Doesn't matter who the fuck you are. Mike Williams had a terrible week this week. Cooper Kupp had a down week this week. Like this shit happens. I don't care who you are, really. The thing I love about Lockett is he's going to give you 25 fucking points some weeks, and he's going to literally single-handedly win you the week. So I'm not that worried. I think this offense is going to get there. I've liked what I saw early in the season for the first couple weeks. Since then, it's been a little bit disappointing, but yeah, I don't know. I'd be lying if I wasn't like 10% worried about Lockett being what he was last year, but I don't know. I'm not that concerned.
So
not yet.
In line with what you just said about Lockett, I think you kind of probably answered the next question I was going to ask you, which is about Aaron Jones.
Oh.
And Aaron Jones is a guy who I know has all the talent in the world in an offense that puts up points, and we know what he's capable of. Look at week 2, 38.5 points, and he had 4 touchdowns on the week that you manifested his success. But we see the following stat line literally every year out of Aaron Jones, who is an RB1 at the end of the year. 3, 38, 16, 9. Those are his point totals. Next week, he could have 24, and the week after, he could have 7. And correct me if I'm wrong, but we do see a lot of this from Aaron Jones. And I'm wondering if, much like Lockett, this production out of your RB1 is frustrating for you.
No. Sometimes it can be when it's a really great matchup, but I actually watched the games on Sunday, and sometimes, especially with running backs, game script fucks you up. It just does. And that game, they were up huge. They were smashing the Steelers. I know the final score was only 13 points or something, but they were killing them, and they didn't need to run them in there. Why risk the injury? I was perfectly fine seeing, what's his name? Who's the
AJ
fucking
Dillon.
quad guy? Yeah. AJ Dillon in the game. Good, rest up, buddy. I'm good with it. The part that pissed me off, he had 11 points, then he fumbles. And I'm like, come on, really? There's been so many fumbles this year. It's so strange. But Aaron Jones' usage has actually been significantly up compared to years prior. He's been in the 70s in terms of snap share, and he's getting all the red zone looks. I don't know how I feel about that because I'm not sure he'll make it through the season unscathed. So I'm kind of maybe they should work in AJ Dillon a little more. But there were a lot of guys, good running backs, that end up with 11, 13 points, 9 points here and there. It's the threes that really suck. But that New Orleans game was a shit show, man. They were out of that. They benched the whole team 10 minutes left in the third quarter.
Yep.
So, shit happens, but I'm not worried. I think Aaron Jones is on his way. He's currently the RB3. I think he's fucking fine.
And I agree with all that you said, and I'm glad you made the points that you did, because I thought coming into this year, this would be Aaron Jones's career year, because no Jamal Williams, and he's ready.
He's
ready
why I'm buying, out. Man. He's why I'm buying. He's if he carries me to the promised land, we're fucking grooving, man.
Yeah. I'll let you talk about Ryan for a second
Yes.
this week.
So here's why I thought I semi had a chance this week, even though I probably shouldn't have. Ryan had some tough matchups, man. He had DeAndre Hopkins, who was getting Jalen Ramsey'd and is also banged up. Prescott and Lamb were going against a tough Carolina defense, plus a banged up Kittle, who was like really, truly questionable, and then he played, dropped a touchdown, should have had one there. And then Henderson, who was kind of banged up as well. So if I'm Ryan, I'm not sweating this low point total. Like, what, 117 points this week?
Correct.
Like, that's not what Ryan's typically used to putting up so far this season. I think that's going to bounce back perfectly well next week with 130 plus.
And it will bounce back because now he has Mike Davis in his team, which is a great addition for Ryan. Congratulations on Mike Davis.
Oh, he's so bad.
Tones, Ryan does fall out of first place because we have a new points leader.
Unbelievable.
That man is Nick Dotto. Nick, who moves to 3-1 as he defeats me. I am now 1-3 and probably will not win another game this season. 144 to 102. 144 to 102.
Mike Williams had like 2 points, 144. Give me a fucking break. We got to echo what Rob said. We got to do it. Rob said it. We're going to repeat it here in case you missed it because it's worth saying twice. What he is doing, Nicholas Paul Dotto. I don't know if that's his middle name. I assume every Dotto's middle name is Paul.
Sure, we'll just go with that. Yeah.
It's actually nuts what this guy's doing right now. I don't know if he's the luckiest fantasy player in the world. I don't know if he's the smartest. I'm leaning towards smart based on the fact that he's done this multiple years in a row. This team, no CMC, 0 picks. My guy's dropping a $144. No McCaffrey. Oh, well, Mike Williams has been his key to success this year. No problem. 2 points. Tyreek Hill's just going to take care of business. Remember that guy? He's pretty good too. Justin Jefferson, you were worried about him week 1? He's fine. Here's fucking 17 points. Like, it's unbelievable. This guy is just, he finds a way. It's nuts.
Tyreek Hill's 42 super inflate this total. Okay, let's take 30 away from Tyreek Hill, and he has 114. Now, he still wins. Mm-hmm. Yes, I understand that the 144 looks great on paper. I'm trying my hardest not to totally discount it here, but 42 points from any week is so rare that of course you're going to have a total that's that high.
We can't discredit it though because this is like Aaron Jones. Tyreek Hill is always capable of these. He's always due for like, if this is 42 points out of fucking like who? Chuba Hubbard, you're like, yeah, okay, give me a fucking break. But this is Tyreek Hill, man. This guy's fucking amazing. This is why he's the number 1 wide receiver taken every year. Like, he can do this and will probably do it again. So I think it's less fluky.
And last week, 29 points
Ridiculous.
Out of Mike Will, 30 out of Justin Herbert, 22 out of Justin Jefferson. So, I mean, the Mike Will pick has really made a difference for him. Jefferson was a great keeper decision, which we questioned, and Herbert was a great late round pick. He's just made a couple shrewd moves that have really elevated that point total and have put him where he is right now, which, as we said, is incredibly impressive. It was, like we said, an honorable mention for Tyreek Hill, but when you crush somebody for the Jennings, I'm sorry, but when you destroy someone as bad as he destroyed me, it really doesn't matter. You could take him actually out of his lineup and he still wins this week altogether.
Yeah, easily.
Talk to me about Tyson Williams.
Tyson, inactive. I did some digging because I was super bored at work today, trying to find out why the fuck this man was scratched. Watching games, I wasn't all that impressed. He just looked like the definition of like an average guy. Dan points out he had a 6 yards per carry or something like that right now. And I'm like, really? Look it up. I'm like, okay, it's a small sample size. Like that can be a little weird, but like, wow, 6 yards per carry is not, can't ignore it. It's kind of weird. There was no real explanation. The offensive coordinator, I forget his name, but like he just came out and said like, yeah, like I don't know. He had some like lame kind of quote that was, he just wasn't like a glowing endorsement of the kid. It just seemed really weird. Like, I don't really understand why, but I don't know. Benching Tyson. Did he drop him? Did he drop Tyson?
I don't know if he did. We should probably know this.
We should probably. I mean, whatever. It's been a busy week for you.
I mean, he did pick up Latavius Murray again Sunday afternoon.
Maybe that's what it was.
Yeah, and
I knew there was a move made.
I don't think he dropped Tyson. And Nick has said it himself. He came actually on this program and said it himself in that Tyson is not really protecting in passing situations very well, and they're not liking that. So maybe until he gets more up to speed in that, improves, or does something else that really catches the coach's attention, maybe he's just kind of the odd man out, which for Nick is unfortunate because I know how much he cared about this man.
Let's go to your side of things. Last man standing.
Do we have to?
Yeah, we sure do, buddy. You're a team in this league, unless we Mike Dotto you. The thing to talk about here is Allen Robinson, last man standing here with Justin Fields, 3 for 3, 3 targets, 3 receptions, 63 yards, no tutty. Is it time to be worried about A-Rob?
It can't be any worse than it is right now, right? 2 of his 4 matchups, Rams, Browns. I mean, those are tough on the road against 2 really good teams. I mean, he put up 6.5 points against Jalen Ramsey on 11 targets, so there's that. I mean, it's really hard to make excuses for the Bears offense right now, and I'm not going to. The quarterback play has not been good. Matt Nagy, more than anything, is a complete wash of a head coach. And I hope that they fire him after week 9 at Pitt, go into the bye, and come back with someone. I know Allen Robinson is talented. I know that Justin Fields is talented, and I'm hoping that connection can be something special at some point soon. Should I be worried? I don't know, Tones. I'm checked out of fantasy football now. I've made my trades. I'm good. I'm chilling. I don't really care. You're exhausted
right now. Your eyes, I wish you guys could see Doria's eyes right now. My man needs a nap.
I just need to get rid of my fantasy football team, man. I got to get rid of it. Someone else has got to take it. I'll just run the league on the side. I'll collect paychecks. That'll just be it. But yeah, man, I'm not, in all seriousness, I'm not all that concerned because I don't think it can get any worse than it can right now. But it, like I said last week about other thoughts, it could still be bad. My general thoughts, Tones, right now is that other than me, my God, this league is really competitive right now. It is very close, which is why it makes our next segment so hard to do. And Tones, what do we got?
Power!
That's right, boys and girls. Girls being Mike. Power rankings! Let's go, baby!
Now, early in the season, Tones, means a lot of the standings may reflect some of the things that we see, but if they don't, we'll explain why. So let's start at number 10, and this was set in stone before I made a flurry of deals tonight. It's me. I'm 10. Let's move on.
Somehow I'm 9. And I say somehow because I just gave up a first-round pick. What the fuck am I doing?
You have 13 fewer points for than me. You have $50 fewer than me.
Nuts.
And we both lost 2 games in a row. I'm only last because I sold everything, but you are definitely in 9th.
Dudes, practice this week. We're trending up. That's it. It's a slow bar on my squad. Hey, just practice on Wednesday. That's all I need. And it's a dub this week.
Now, I don't know if I just said this, but I'll reiterate it. I'm in 9th place right now.
Yeah.
I'm not actually in last.
Has there been a last place? Did Dan do this last year where he was last and then was like flipping picks? I know he was down there.
Yeah.
But like a first?
I don't know.
I'm kind of hoping I'm like the first last place team to give up a first. That's a lot of things that just happened in that sentence.
It'll be fun to see.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Man, this could be a huge mistake. Anyway, let's move on. Number 8, the next seller. It's Franco.
Proclamation.
Yeah, I don't know. It just seems like a top-heavy team. I don't think he has the depth. He's going to be having to make lineup decisions each and every week. You got to get him right or else you're in trouble. And going up against these other teams that are slowly becoming juggernauts, it's going to be tougher and tougher for Franco, I think.
Longest active losing streak in the league is 3 losses in a row. That's Franco after he won week 1. This is an easy decision for the 8th spot in the power rankings. And number 7 is Genera, a guy who has won 2 in a row, which other people have in the league as well. And that's all well and good for him after the 0-2 start. However, we mentioned the injuries. We mentioned Devontae Adams and Calvin Ridley really not living up to the hype right now. And I truthfully don't even know who his backfield is, what it's going to look like in week 5. He's got Rob, and that's a tough look. So this is why Christian comes in to 7th in our power rankings this week.
Number 6, Dan the Man. Probably not where he wants to be. Probably not where he thought he'd be after week 1, that's for sure. But he is slipping. That can definitely change in, 4 weeks next time we do this? Wouldn't be surprised if he's 3rd. Wouldn't be surprised if he's last.
It's back-to-back losses for Dan, and we know how aggressive he was with me trying to get players off of myself. And who knows? He's probably blowing up the chat right now trying to figure out who he can trade for. I'm sure he will make some moves. Number 5 is Mike Dotto. Mike has he won his last game. Mike has put up some points this year in numbers, and although he should have lost to Dan this week because of the roster decision that Dan made, he doesn't. And Mike's RB duo is legit. and it leaves him with a lot of room for error elsewhere, which I'm sure he'll be looking to shore up if he does want to make some moves. His week 5 is U-Tones, a team coming off of many injuries, and then he's got me and Franco. So Mike is kind of in a position right now where he can rattle off a couple or a few of his next 3 games, and he can really elevate himself in this league. That's where we've got Mike Dotto.
Number 4, 4 is Richard Ben. The defending champ is off the podium. What do we like about Rich? I think he made the move for Godwin. I like that a lot. I think that's trending up.
Yeah.
I think the best days are ahead for Jonathan Taylor still. He had a really nice Sunday, had a nice run, scored that touchdown. It was beautiful looking. I'm still a little worried about the usage, but like ultimately, you got to bet on young talent, right? And that guy's just going to emerge at some point. So I like where his squad's heading. I think it's going up. We haven't seen the best out of Diggs yet either.
That's very true. Diggs is the X factor that will come into play later. Number 3 is Rob. Rob put up 143 2 weeks ago. He put up 144 this week. Saquon is back. Clyde is off the watch list.
I can't believe we're saying that.
Which is so much harder to say when it's not in front of me in writing, which I usually have sometimes. But Rob is in a very good position right now, and he's very confident in chats with him trying to make deals. He's very content with where he's at, and he will make moves as needed, but he doesn't feel like the time is now. He's got Genera this week, a team that's kind of hurt. So Rob comes in at number 3.
Number 2 is Nick. I can't believe it. Chuba Hubbard, Leonard Fournette, Latavius Murray. That's who he's got in his starting lineup going into this week at running back. I'm the guy who thinks running backs are the key to victory in this league. What the fuck do I know? Look at these 3 guys. But somehow, Nick has the magic fantasy dust, and I want some of it. Just give me a little bit, a little sprinkle over here, a little Salt Bay over here. He's amazing. I don't know. There's not much else to say. He's a fucking freak.
Number 1. He doesn't have the most points for in the league. He doesn't even have the most points per week anymore because of Nick. But I really like the direction that Ryan's team is going in. He is stacked at every position, and we know that. And his dud this week is actually what kind of knocks him out a little bit to me. But he's still number 1, right? Nick, maybe the trend is in Nick's favor, but you really take this week as kind of a throwaway for Ryan. We made the cases in his matchup as to why he is very, very set for the foreseeable future. And more than anything, Tones, he now has Mike Davis.
Yep. Mike fucking Davis. The key to victory in this league is Mike Davis. All right, Dors. We're almost there, buddy. We're almost there. Marquee matchups. Who you got?
I've got Rob versus Genera. Rob can potentially get to first place in the league, depending on points for and how other guys do. And a CRG loss on the other side of the equation would mean a devastating start for him because he's got Nick and Ryan up next on his sked. So yes, the record looks okay right now, and he's won 2 in a row, and that's fine, but it would be really disappointing for Genera to lose the next couple. I don't know what's going to happen. He's got to win these games.
All right, I got Rich and Dan, a battle of 2-2 teams. The loser falling to 2-3. Obviously, that's what happens when you lose and you're 2-2. That might trigger one of 2 things. Full panic mode, which means full angry buying, just being like, fuck it, throw picks at the problem and hope it works, like me. Or you're just saying, I gotta sell. It's time to ship off some dudes, see what I can MacGyver, maybe do some player for player deals, shake it up. You know what I'm saying? Yep. The big questions here for this week in terms of actual lineup decisions, major flex questions. We already touched on it. Do you still roll with Miles Sanders if you're Dan? And then no Monty for Rich is a big deal. He's had him locked into his flex all season long. Now what? It's Godwin, right?
It's got to be
Godwin.
It's got to be Godwin, which is going to make Dan very unhappy, which means the drama between Dan and I will continue when he looks at his matchup Wednesday morning against Rich and is very upset about it.
I feel like we need a detailed essay in the chat of this drama.
I'm so tired. I need to put my phone on airplane mode for the next 24 hours and just disconnect. And you know what's funny, Tones, about this whole thing is I complained so much last year about the fact that Trade Mageddon happened and I was basically worked to the bone like a slave here, okay? and now, fast forward, I did it to myself. But Tones, I did it so that I would be done. And it is. It is done. And there may be trades to make moving forward, but the giving tree has given. And
you are but a weed.
And I am definitely a weed waiting to just be plucked. Quick Tones, I gotta mention this before we sign off for the week. Squid Games.
Oh,
blew up.
Have you watched it yet?
No, I have not.
Oh, it's so good.
You know me, it'll probably take me 2 years to watch this show.
Fair enough.
And I also don't want to have nightmares because I'm a big baby.
It's not that bad. It's not that bad.
Okay, that's fair. For the record, subtitles overdubbed any day of the week.
Yeah, agreed.
You must watch it with the authentic actors, or else what's the point? You're taking away from the quality of the show, no doubt. But my opinion is void because I'm not going to watch it for 3 years anyway. Tones, you posed a question. I want to hear it.
Out of our league, who do you think has the best chance, the Vegas odds on winner, to be the winner of the Squid Games if we all had to play each other? Who would win Squid Games in our league? I don't know why I overcomplicated that question.
There's two approaches here that I want to go for.
Uh-huh.
One is, do we just give it to the guys who win all the time? Like, would Dan or Nick be the most successful because they find ways to win? Or is Mike Dotto one of the low-key, like, street smartest guys in our entire league? Would he just find a way to survive? And Mike Dotto was a survivor. If you look at how he's built himself in his career and his life, the way he sets himself up for success, he manifests his success. You know, I just feel like he would go into that like shooting gallery and be like, I'm not going to die today. And he just wouldn't die that day.
You need to be ruthless. You need to be smart. You need to be, I don't know, the guy, I'm not going to spoil it, but like kindness does fucking work, sort of. But ultimately, you got to be an asshole.
Oh.
You got to just be like, you got to have that killer instinct. Well, Asshole's bad. You got to have the killer instinct. That's kind of what I'm going for here. Dan's got the killer instinct. That guy wants to win. He will do anything it takes to win. He will trade his whole draft to win. He's going to go do it. And it's him or Nick, I think. It's obvious.
And that can be your choice. In fact, all of the reasons that you just said are why I'm picking Mike is because he's ruthless. He can be an asshole, especially to me in the chat lately.
Wow.
It's just complete dick. And that's fine. Whoa. I get it. He knows he's getting under my skin and it's funny and it's cool. Like it is what it is. But because of all those reasons.
Oh, we're just airing shit out today. Oh my God.
He would definitely win this fake Hunger Games Squid Game thing. Right? All right. That's just
no squids are involved in this games.
I just started watching Drive to Survive. And Tones, it's taken me 3 years. So in 2025, I will give you my IMDb out of 5-star review of the Squid Games.
Okay. Get to Squid Games early because you're going to burn through Formula 1 because it's that fucking good.
Tones, it's Tuesday night. This is going to come out in a couple of hours, which means it'll officially be Wednesday, which means it's officially week 5. And I'm cooked, man.